And completion of this chapter. So when we meditate, we acquire new conditions. Acquiring a condition is like signing a lease on the house. You may live there, but that does not mean that you own it. If you don't own it, can you stay there permanently? You see, we have to find a way to make these conditions ours. Otherwise, it's like trying to grasp a fistful of water. It just trickles through your fingers and disappears. What is the best way of achieving ownership of the condition? The first step is to be aware of our condition. So AEIOU, now he is explaining AEIOU. So acquiring the condition A. We have to be aware that we have received something. The best time to develop this awareness is immediately after the meditation. To underline. So when is it that we actually become aware of the condition? When we finish the meditation, immediately after that. After the meditation is over, simply observe yourself. How do you do it? How do you become aware? Simply observe yourself. Observe yourself minutely. How do you feel? Again, now underline, how do you feel? That's why we see asking the question, observation and feeling. Our condition can manifest in various ways. A journal can be extremely useful tool because if you have to write about your condition, you will naturally be attentive to it. So that's one of the things with writing the diary. If you have to write something in the diary, you have to observe yourself. Otherwise, what will you write in the diary? So when you get into the habit of writing the diary, you also get into the habit of observing yourself closely. When you are attentive, your awareness becomes more fine-tuned and your sensitivity increases. Now again, see, it's an interplay between attention and awareness. Attention and awareness. We are like in that realm between attention and awareness. The more you utilize attention, the better awareness will be. The more you are aware, the better attentive will be. So they act with one another. There's not much difference. You add little bit of energy to awareness, it becomes attention. You minus energy from the attention, it becomes awareness. So it's like very closely related. Okay. But remember, if you want to go to the finer points, awareness is finer, attention is a bit grosser. Because awareness plus energy is attention. Okay.
But one question. Uh, Awareness is not the act of mind, right? It's two are different.
You will have to work it out. Where is this awareness coming from? Initially, we think that it's something coming from the mind. But eventually, you have to work out where is this coming from. So if you have got a clue by experience that it is not an act of the mind, I think you are in the right path. But saying that it's not part of this is one part of the answer. But saying that this is part of this is another part of the answer. Then you have to work out where it is coming from.
But awareness will start from consciousness to super consciousness. It will follow till the super consciousness.
But then the next question, where is this consciousness coming from? That's also next question, no? We are
Yeah.
tagged.
We are witnessing the consciousness when we are aware.
That does not answer the question. Where is the awareness coming from? Part of the answer is that we talked about it, that you have a circle and then the center of the circle is the source, and then the field of the circle is the consciousness, at the periphery of the field, the circumference of the circle is the awareness. So this is one part of the answer. But then you look at it in a slightly different way. If the awareness does not belong to the mind, if it does not belong to the body, then where does it actually belong to? It has to belong to somewhere, no?
Is it a buddhi?
That's why I said, don't go on guessing now. So I'm not going to give the answer. So I want you to work it out.
Because buddhi is another which we call it as intelligence. we use the intelligence to to navigate from the where from more mind to consciousness. So basically, what we are doing in meditation is we are using the buddhi. So intelligence.
What are you doing with the buddhi? What are you doing with buddhi?
It's an intelligence, right?
Right. What are you doing in meditation with intelligence?
Not in. I'm not. What I mean is not in meditation, especially when I've taken this journey of spirituality. Is it mind is helping me to navigate towards it, or it's a buddhi? According to me, it's a buddhi is actually navigating me towards reality.
So what is the difference between mind and buddhi then?
No, I don't.
That's another question to ponder about. So today, lot of questions are like bounce back without answers. See, it's a good thing that you're actually pondering all these things. Manas, the way that we use it, is slightly different in its functionality versus buddhi. Okay, so manas is only the thinking faculty. Mind cannot decide. The manasu, as we call it, it cannot decide. Its only function is thinking. Like the function of the heart is feeling. That's it. So the buddhi, which appears to be a component of the sukshma sharira, so manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. So a component of the sukshma sharira that actually helps in deciding about anything. Buddhi is the one which analyzes the thoughts in a particular
Okay.
goal-directed way and then helps you to make a decision, yes or no, based on certain parameters. So in that way, buddhi is much more stronger and finer than the mind. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So we are using buddhi all the time, but during the meditation itself, we
We
don't
don't
use
use.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We are
I understood.
keeping the mind quiet. Now, since we are keeping the mind quiet, after we have actually done the meditation, what we tend to see is that the buddhi has now become more sharpened, more decisive. So we don't dilly-dally. A person who meditates makes decisions very easily on the go. That is because the buddhi is like very sharp. So it's like a sharp knife cutting through things. Buddhi before meditation is a blunt knife. But after meditation, it's more like a sharp knife. It can just cut through anything. That's how clear the buddhi is. So when we meditate, we have an impact on all the four: manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. And not only on these four, but the other four also: bhavana, kalpana, prajna, and ichha shakti. So there are 8 aspects that we modify with meditation. Just with single act of meditation, actually modify all the 8 aspects of the mind. Okay. Now, how are they related to one another? Which of these actually gets fine-tuned early? Which gets fine-tuned later on? Which happens throughout the course? All these things we need to work out. So there is manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankar, then bhavana, kalpana, prajna, ichha shakti. So bhavana is emotions. So we fine-tune the emotions also. Then kalpana is imagination. We work on the imagination also. Then prajna is consciousness. And then lastly, we also have working on the ichha shakti, which is the willpower. So all the 8 aspects of the so-called mind, when I'm using the word mind here, not from the thinking faculty perspective, but from the broader perspective. So in other words, all the 8 aspects of the subtle body gets fine-tuned with meditation. Okay, that is the reason why if you look at it from the sheath perspective, we say manomaya kosha and then vijnanamaya kosha. Vijnanamaya kosha is intellect. Gradually, then when we work on it, we gradually convert it into wisdom sheath. Initially, it is called as a intellectual sheath. Then after we meditate regularly, it gets converted into wisdom sheath. That's why. So if you look at it in the 5 koshas are subtler and finer than the one from the outside to inside. So the grossest kosha is the Annamaya kosha. Then
Yeah.
Manomaya kosha, the Pranamaya kosha is a bit finer and subtler. Then Manomaya kosha, then Vijnanamaya kosha, and then Anandamaya kosha. So as we go in, the koshas become more finer and subtler and more powerful. So the koshas inside control the koshas outside. The thing which is subtler and finer controls the thing which is grosser. That's how it works.
And
Okay.
once we reach Manomaya Kosha, do we start experiencing the Anandamaya Kosha also?
Even otherwise, even if when you are not meditating, you do experience the Anandamaya kosha on and off. We feel happy on and off. So that happiness is a glimpse of the Anandamaya kosha that we are actually carrying. But Anandamaya kosha is not our goal though.
Yeah. We got to go beyond that.
So we do experience outside there. Even people who are not meditating, there are people who are very happy and settled. But the only thing is that what we are trying to achieve in meditation is some permanency in that. And then going to those realms which are beyond the Anandamaya kosha, which are not accessible to people who don't meditate.
Let me clarify this. When you say outside people who are not meditating still experiencing Anandamaya Kosha, my understanding is they are already have done the work before coming to this birth. Is that understanding correct? So everybody have to cross from body to the bliss, right? So he would have done the work for himself previous life and now is better. Not necessary.
Anybody can feel happy. What prevents you from feeling happy? A child is naturally happy. No, it doesn't need to have worked on spirituality in some of the previous life. No need. Even otherwise, the child is happy. So, this way of thinking would indicate some degree of compulsiveness. But that is not necessary. See, you can, again, now it gives the sheds light on some aspects of how do we deal with the samskaras. Getting the samskaras to be cleaned off is one aspect of dealing with samskaras. Making the samskaras dormant is another thing. Getting detached from the samskaras is another thing. You have all the three possibilities. So, in sleep, we don't lose the samskaras. We just detach from the samskaras and then keep the samskaras dormant. That's all that we do. So that is happening anyway. Nature has given that. See, nature has given some respite for us every day. After having bombarded or fought with the samskaras through the course of the day, without knowing how the samskaras are actually manipulating our life. At the end of the day, we actually feel take rest. Now you might wonder what happens to the samskaras. The samskaras are still there, but it's just that nature comes and gives you respite. The samskaras are now held in abeyance, in dormancy, and you are able to temporarily detach from the samskaras and go to sleep. That is what happens in sleep. Okay, so let's continue. Otherwise, we will not finish this today. So when you are attentive, your awareness becomes more finely tuned and your sensitivity increases. So remember, attention, awareness, and sensitivity, all the three are linked. So if you work on any of these three, the other also gets a benefit. Attention, awareness, and sensitivity. Initially, many people say that they don't know what to write. At first, you may write only one sentence, even one word. But after a few weeks, you may write paragraphs. Soon you will fill pages with detailed descriptions. The more awareness we have of our condition, the more we will be able to experience its depth and intensity. Now, underline this. So, when we have a condition, we have to now look at what is the depth of that condition and the intensity of that particular condition. Okay. A new condition is like a seed. It starts in a very small way and gradually unfolds. It expands from within and becomes enlivened. Underline one. So AEIOU means the second part. E is enlivening. Our entire being now seems to vibrate with it means with the condition. When the condition is sufficiently enlivened, it peaks. How do you enliven the condition? By paying attention to the condition. When you pay attention to the condition, you are energizing the condition, so it becomes enlivened. Okay? Then the condition takes a new turn. We now start to absorb it, you see. So the condition has now expanded, but now we start absorbing it. Till now, we are separate, the condition is separate. But the condition has now become bigger because of the enlivening. But still, we are separate and the condition is separate. Now we start absorbing. It's like you put food into the stomach. Initially, you enliven the food. By what? By the digestive enzymes. When the digestive enzymes act on the food and break it down into minute particles, after that, we start absorbing the food. Without that being broken down, we will not be able to absorb the food. Because the food that we eat is in a grosser form than our body can absorb. So, if a person does not have the capacity to break down the food, even though they're eating well, they will probably not get nourishment from it because they're not able to break down. So, all that I want to pick up is even with the normal physical food, we enliven it by adding digestive juices. Likewise, in the condition that we get, we enliven it by paying attention and adding energy. When you add energy, it balloons up. That is enlivening. But after that, that's not the whole point of the condition being given. The condition now needs to be absorbed. So when will the condition start getting absorbed? When it's reached a peak where it is now amenable to absorption. Like the food will only be absorbed when it reaches a stage where it is amenable to be absorbed. Right? Likewise, the condition needs to be reach a stage of subtlety where we can absorb it. So if we are not at a final state, our ability to absorb the condition will be less. As we grow finer and finer, our ability to absorb the condition and benefit the condition increases. And that is the reason why we have to increase our sensitivity. Okay. Now we imbibe it. We now start to observe it, you see, we imbibe it. It is the I part of it. AEIOU. So I imbibe. It becomes a part of us. Like the food now that we have eaten is now becoming part of us now. As it becomes part of us, our thoughts, feelings, and actions starts to reflect its particular characters. So when I absorb the food into the bloodstream, now where the food now becomes part of me, it's now become part of my bloodstream. So it's become part of me now. So whatever I have eaten, the blood will reflect the characters of the food that I have eaten. So if I eat a fatty food, I can check the fat in the blood, it will be high. If I eat a carbohydrate food, the sugar will be high. If I eat a protein food, the protein content will be high in the bloodstream. So in other words, whatever is the content of the food that we eat, the characters of that content is reflected in the bloodstream. Likewise, the condition that is now absorbed, the characters of that condition is now felt on the thoughts and the actions and the behaviors. Okay. Our one interesting facet of this process is that the more we imbibe the condition, the less intense it becomes. Now, please underline this. As you absorb the food, what will happen to the quantity of the food that is there in the stomach and intestine? It will decrease, no? No, it cannot increase. It will decrease. So it is but natural for the intensity of the condition to come down over a period of time. Even if you absorb the condition, it will come down. Even if you don't absorb the condition, even it will come down. So whether you digest the food or not, once the food is digested, it decreases in quantity. If the food is not digested, it becomes part of the waste and it is thrown out. Then also there's no food. The food does not remain in the stomach and intestine. Either way, the stomach and intestine does become empty in due course of time. Likewise, whether the condition is absorbed or not absorbed, the condition eventually will leave the system. Okay? So this is very important. Normally, what we do is we eat the food, to just give a physical analogy, we eat the food and then we allow the food to be vomited out. We get a condition in meditation and we disregard the condition. We don't pay attention to the condition at all. It's almost like throwing out the food. You've just eaten, you have not allowed the food to cross from the stomach to intestine. You have just thrown out the food. Now, how will you get nourishment? If you keep throwing out the food, how will you get nourishment? The nourishment from the food that you eat, you can only get after you have actually digested and absorbed the food. So there are multiple processes involved. First, you have to eat properly. Then you should not actually vomit it out. Then you have to enliven it by adding digestive enzymes. And that has to break down the food. And then the food has to become more subtle for us to absorb it. Then the process of absorption starts. So there are so many processes involved. Likewise, when we get a condition in meditation, there are so many processes involved before we actually absorb the condition and making it a part of us. Just imbibing the condition is not the end of the condition. We'll read about it now. One interesting facet of this process is that the more we imbibe the condition, the less intense it becomes. So they will ask you this question in the examination too. It's like a googly. Now that we are talking cricket language, it's a googly. Most of the people will think the more you observe, the more it should be. But actually what happens is the more you observe, the less intense it will become. It feels its feeling starts to wane. You see, eventually we stop feeling it altogether. Then we might think that we have lost it. But if you examine it carefully, then you will find that it's not gone. Instead of feeling it, you are becoming it. Okay? Now, for example, look what happens when you eat a meal. Initially, you feel the presence of food in your stomach. However, when the food is digested, you no longer feel it in your system. It is becoming a part of you. Similarly, the experience of any condition only proves that it has not yet become part of you. It is still foreign. It is still a novelty. When it truly becomes a part of you, or you are unable to experience it at all. As Babaji used to say, the eyes cannot see itself. It is itself, I said. Exactly, said Daji. In that situation, the condition is truly secured. It has become yours. You stay in that state of not feeling very much until your heart starts craving something new. This craving is what triggers the next condition. So what happens is you observe the condition and now you start becoming one with the condition. This is the O part, AEIOU. You start becoming one with the condition. But during the process of becoming one with the condition, you are still there, the condition is still there, although in less intensity. But you are becoming one with the condition. So becoming one with the condition. Then gradually you become so merged in the condition that you don't exist now. Only the condition exists. You are no longer in the picture. Now that state is called as union. AEIOU, the union. In the union, you are no longer there, only the condition remains. So the difference between oneness and union is in oneness, you are still there and the condition is still there. You are still observing the condition. But you are becoming one with the condition. But in union, you have already become one with the condition. So it's not a process, it's already over. You are dissolved in the condition, that only condition remains, you no longer remain. In that state, people can actually feel the condition around you effortlessly. You are able to radiate that condition around to other people and they can feel that condition. You are not doing anything. It is just happening effortlessly. The condition is just revealing itself to others also. That is what happens. Okay. So can you see the difference between AEIOU? You will get questions about AEIOU. This is one way it is described here. In the 9-page document, it is described slightly differently. Please read through that. And then they will give you some description of, say, what happens in I. And then I'll ask you to identify which part of the AEIOU is this. So they'll just take one sentence out of the description of I or E and then say which part of this AEIOU is this. Okay, so definitely we'll get some questions on AEIOU. Okay, because they are very much aware that you are all fond of eating. So they want to acknowledge that. That's why before we send you to the examination hall, we give you a good breakfast. Idli vada with sambar and chutney, everything. And then you are sent to the hall. So that we are hoping that by doing that, at least you will remember AAOU. Because you are undergoing the AAOU while you sit in the examination hall. So Gopal Krishna is now very eager. Okay, now you bring on the examination. I'll be very eager to write it. Okay, let's finish this. There will be some questions, not to worry. We'll just finish this off so that Monday we can take some questions and then start the next part. So once we become one with the condition, now heart is empty of the condition which was given. Like the stomach is empty of the food that was given. Now you start feeling the next cycle starts. You start feeling hungry again. When you start feeling hungry again, you go over the process all over again. You go through the process all over again. That's what happens. Okay. So entire cycle is repeated again. I said. Yes, said Daji. The entire process of enlivening, imbibing, and securing the condition. Now, securing means becoming one and united with the condition. Both includes in securing. Securing the condition what becomes second nature. Again, this is I told you, underlying second nature. How many times he has told you that this should become second nature, second nature? After reading the book, I was confused. Which one should become my first nature? There are so many second natures. After all, there are so many conditions to traverse on this journey. As we move along, we also find each of these conditions is finer and subtler than the last one. Unless our perceptions becomes continuously finer, these superfine conditions will elude us altogether. Please underline. So we have to continuously evolve in our sensitivity also. Otherwise, we will not be able to grasp the final conditions. Then we won't be able to enliven them, what to say of imbibing and securing them by becoming one with them. How can we make our perception more subtle? I asked. It's like learning a new language. Gradually we pick it up. But only if we observe ourselves and pay keen attention to each condition as it comes. And I have already described how to do that. But we have to start this habit at the earliest. Because at higher stages, the conditions are so subtle that they become almost impossible to perceive. If we cannot perceive them, they get stunted and we cannot move forward. If, however, our inner senses have been progressively tuned over the course of your journey, you will be able to work with those superfine conditions. You will pass through them to still finer states, eventually arriving at the subtlest condition of all, the conditionless condition. So, underline what is the subtlest condition of all? The conditionless condition. Often we get distracted in the hustle bustle of life. I said, at those times it can seem as if we lose the condition that we have received in meditation. Can we get it back without meditating a second time? So Joshua Pollock does not want to make effort to meditate second time. He wanted to be given to him on the platter, right? So it's like Gopal Krishna had one round of idli vada. Now he cannot wait for the second round. He wanted it on a platter immediately after he's finished the first round. So that's how it is. Okay. So you don't need to meditate a second time, said Daji. Just stop for a moment, close your eyes, and reconnect yourself to the heart. That automatically recalls your condition. So underline that. So how do you automatically recall your condition? Just by closing your eyes and connecting to the heart again. Or you can consciously recall what that condition felt like. By remembering it, we recreate it. So underline that also. By remembering it, we recreate it. In the morning, it might have taken you an entire hour to enter a state of deep meditation. But now you can find yourself on the verge of samadhi in only a few seconds. You go there immediately. How is that a condition that took an hour to develop can be recreated in just a few moments? I asked. With your morning meditation, you already forged a path. So there is a path already. Now that the path is established, you only need to follow it. You refer it to your heart and it comes. And the more you meditate, the easier this becomes. Because the path is already set. All that you need to do is close the eyes and look at the heart, and then the mind just goes through that path and eventually tacks onto the condition that you received in the meditation. It's like first time if you are going to a famous hotel and somebody has sent you the location, it takes time. right? If you have been there few times, what will happen? You go straight to the hotel and to the till to order what you want, right? All of us are very much aware of this. We have done it many times, right? So that's exactly how it is. So once you are able to have that path established, you will easily go there immediately. So that's not a big deal at all. So now they have described the meditation here, not to worry about it. The meditation as described in the 9-page document is what is expected in the exams. So just look at that. So the 9-page document is very important because there are quite a few practice related questions that comes from there. Okay. Hmm. Ganeshan, you want to ask something? No, I have kept Gopal Krishna quiet with the idli vada, and I have kept Sudha sister quiet with the feast yesterday. So she also does not want to ask any questions. He also does not want. No, she's eaten the food, so she's not asking. Gopal Krishna, I have given him the what do you say, the lure of eating the food, so he's also not going to ask anything. So the only thing, only people who are now there to talk is you and me now. And yesterday, interestingly, we were having this session. Then, when is it that you form more samskaras? Was the question I asked. Then one of the fellows, Abhyasi said, when you talk, I said, if we are not going to talk, how are you going to conduct the session? How are you going to clarify things to you? So definitely don't put me into the trap of forming samskaras by just talking. So then I said, so that then the maximum samskara which is formed in the session is by me only. Anyway,
I have a doubt, brother.
Sudha sister now is going to ask the question because now the food is digested. So now there is space for doubt. Go ahead.
I think maybe silly. Observing in meditation, you're telling no. Does it not become concentration sometime?
No. That's why meditation, it is effortless observation.
Okay.
In concentration, it is effortful observation. In meditation, it is just effortless observation. You have closed your eyes. What is it that you see? There is no effort at all. You just look at what is coming inside. That is visible. That is your observation. That's all. When you close your eyes, something will become visible even without any effort. Either you see some darkness or some brightness, some light, some glow, or some pictures,
Okay.
some faces, some sceneries, some colors. Something will come when you close your eyes. That is your observation.
Okay.
So, what is it that is visible? Although you have kept your eyes closed, that is observation. You are not going to change. Of course, if you look at it from the perspective of observation and the witness, what's the difference between the two? Both are effortless, but observation comes through the filter of samskaras. So there is an element of samskaras which is coating your observation. But as we move towards the witness stage, that element of samskaras are now removed. You are pure witness, where you are devoid of the samskaras. Now I told you how to become devoid of the samskaras three ways. Either you detach from the samskaras, make the samskaras dormant, or you clear up all the samskaras.
Okay.
All the three ways you can gradually establish yourself in the state of witness. So when the samskaras no longer color your what you see, that is a witness state. When the samskaras are still coloring what you see, that is a state of observation. So observation is when the observer has some impact on what is observed. That is observation. When the observer has no impact on what is observed, that is a state of witness. Okay.
Thank you, brother.
Now you are talking about observer and witness. Our witness has now disappeared. Ganeshan has now disappeared to observe something and then come back. Gopal Krishna, no questions. You are very quiet today. You have not spoken even one word. Or are you kind of just savoring what I told you? Uh-huh.
Just
The
trying to
hotel thing, the idli vada thing, the examination thing. You're already getting ready in the mind.
I was trying to digest what you just told actually. Observe versus witness. Seems it's quite connected with quantum physics. That's why it just hit a end there. But I'll try to retrospect and come back.
Many things are connected to quantum physics. So somebody who wants to understand the work that occurs in spirituality from a scientific perspective, the thing that they need to become good at is quantum physics. So that will actually help you a lot in grasping what exactly happens in meditation. Okay. So Ganeshan has come forward. You are having any more questions, Ganeshan?
Not exactly, but in the previous paragraph, uh, Daji mentioned that, but we have to start this habit at the earliest because at the higher stage, the conditions are so certain that they become almost impossible to pursue. This he means about the starting the journey at younger age. That
Correct.
is the understanding.
Correct. See, it's not only starting the journey at younger age, learning the skills necessary. There are many people who start at young age, but very few people actually learn the skills necessary because nobody teaches them. So that's one of the things that we have to grasp correctly and then be in a position to teach the people who come as abhyasis, especially youngsters. So that's why we are encouraging more and more youngsters. But then even if youngsters come into the system, if they don't learn all these techniques, it does not add value to their life. See, just sitting and closing your eyes does not add value to your life. After sitting and closing, the master creates a possibility of the change. Now, you being in a position to observe that possibility of a change and then utilizing for your journey is what is going to make you change as a person. So, master creates the possibility of the change. It is for the abhyasi to recognize the possibility, catch hold of it, and then change. It is abhyasi's role to change, not master's role to change you. No masters will ever change you. They create the possibility of change. Our job is to utilize it. Okay. So if somebody wants to shave, Philips company will create the possibility of shaving. They don't come and shave you. You have to utilize what they have created and then shave yourself. Right? Something like that. If you somebody gets all the cooking material from the shop, that does not make cooking happen automatically. They create the possibility of cooking at home. So somebody has to do the cooking. Right? So like that only. So we have to take an active part in it. Without we playing an active part, what all the changes that you are expecting to occur in meditation will not occur. In fact, one of the things that we discussed yesterday was what is the role of the master in our spiritual journey versus role of self-effort. Lot of people think master will do everything. Dashi himself asked question, why should a master do everything for you? So that's a very wrong understanding. Only at higher stages, as we become very closely aligned with the master, then master takes over the responsibility. That is at a high stage. Not at lower stage. At lower stages, our self-effort is a lot of there is a lot of requirement of our self-effort. Right? In the school, they might ask you to write in the book copy. Then after that, you have to come back home and then you also have to struggle at home. That's when you do a lot of homework at home. When we are young, there are a lot of homework that we do at home. As we grow older, the amount of homework that we get actually decreases because we can pick up certain things in the class itself. Right? Because we are in tune with what is happening in the class. Okay? Sorry. Thank you very much. So we have finished 3 chapters now. You will probably get a question paper over the weekend to practice on. Uh, we will continue with the cleaning chapter from Monday. Okay? Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye then.